So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off kind of what we were doing in class. So I just took my starter code here. I know we already kind of set up the grid. Let's just do it real quick. If you already have this, if you had it saved, you can go ahead and fast forward a little bit until we get to the new part here. But I want to first, this is just make sure it runs. So we hit our run button here, make sure our code works. I get a blank thing. I haven't even filled it up yet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to do a couple things here. The first thing, I want to give this a background inside of here. So I'm just going to go background. I'll make this white here. So background, we'll go 255. Okay, so that's going to go ahead and make this white instead of gray right here. Remember, this refreshes all the time. So that's exactly what I wanted here. Now I want to go ahead and put in my grade system. So I have created a draw board function here. So I'll comment this out for right now. I'm going to put draw board. So each time this refreshes, remember this refreshes 60 times a second, it will go ahead and do this draw board. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to do create horizontal lines and vertical lines. So what I'm going to do is for my horizontal lines, I am going to do a for loop. So I'm going to do for and integer, and I'm going to say y right here is equal to 100. Colon right here, and I'm going to keep increasing y each time. I'm going to go all the way across, so that's going to be y is less than 700 right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and do increase this by 100 each time. I don't know why I keep doing capital there. All right, and then the reason why I'm doing this here is I want to draw a line, and my x is actually going to be consistent right here. It's a horizontal line, so I'm going to start at x equals 0, and I'm going to go all the way to the edge of x is equal to 600. Okay, what I want to increment y as I draw each line. So my first line, it will just start at 100, and it will go from x equals 0, then so at 100, and then to x equals 600. So that will go across my whole screen there, and then I'll put a comment right here, and then I'll put it. It should stay in the same y direction, so that will draw one horizontal line here. And so then after it does 1, it increments and goes to 200. So it goes to the next one down. So if I go ahead and draw here, I should see my line. Oh, hold on. I got to uncomment my draw board function here. There we go. I go ahead and hit this right here, and now I should see my horizontal lines being drawn across my screen, and they are right here, right? So the first one is at 100. That's y equals 100 right here. Okay, and from 0, x equals 0 to x equals 600. Remember, this is a grid system. So my x goes this way, and my y is going down. 0, 0 is my top left. All right, so this would be my first line, second line, third line, fourth line, fifth line, and sixth line right here. Now, I did less than 700. I could have done less than or equal to 600. I just do less than and go up one, so that way I don't have to do the equal sign. Not a big difference either way. Okay, so now the other thing we have to do is I have to go ahead and make my vertical line right here. So I'm going to do pretty much what I did before. So for integer, but now I'm going to be shifting across x. Okay, so I'm going to make this x is equal to 100. We don't want to start at the edge, right? We want to start 100 pixels from the edge there. So, and this is x is less than, and then y goes all the way to 800 or 700. So I'm going to make this 800 here. I can just do a less than instead of a less than equal, and then I'm going to go x and increment that up by 100 each time I do that. So I'm going to make my line here. Now in this case, I'm going to go ahead and x, I want to be consistent right here. So the first time I do x, it's going to just be x right here, so 100. Now I'm changing my y, so I'll start at 0. My x again will be the same here. And then I want to go all the way down to the bottom. So in this case, I made it, and if you're wondering where I'm getting this from, I'm getting right here, the size of my right here. So this is the dimension the x, this is the dimension y. So when I want to go down all the way to the bottom, I need to go down to 700 right here. So I'm going from 0 to 700. Okay, I go ahead and let's make sure we got our nice grid system here. And there we go. I got my nice grid system. So this is going to be our Connect 4 kind of plain field. And so now I can go ahead and figure out a way to, I want to make the circles in each of these right here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I want to create a 2D array so that can hold all these different variables of what it's going to be. So let's go ahead out here. And if I want to declare a global variable, I'm going to come to the top here even before the setup. So these are going to be my global variables, so I can use these in all different places here. So the first one I want to do is I want to go ahead and make my 2D array. So I'm going to go integer, and I got my square bracket, square bracket. So that would be one array. This is a 2D array. I'm going to give a name, so I'm just going to call this grid, and new integer, and now I'm giving the dimension. So the first one's going to be rows. So I have 6 rows going across, and then I have 7 columns right here, and I go end it right there. So now this is my 2D array. It should default to everything just being 0 at first. I'm okay with that. That's not a big deal. Okay, and now I want to go ahead and I also create an X and Y variable here. So X and Y. So this is how I can identify positions inside of this, right there. Okay, so I have this right here. I got it. Let's just make sure it works. Okay, everything should still work. I haven't created any errors. That's good. So now what I need to do is I need to figure out a way how, when I click on this, it changes my array right here. So I want to save a value different than 0 in here. Now, when I save values, I want to create 2 different color circles. I don't remember what it was. It was red and yellow maybe, or red and blue, whatever it was. Okay, I don't remember what to connect for. I know one's red. I don't remember what the other one is. Not that important though. So I'm going to do it by the number right here. So on mouse clicks, I'm going to set red equal to 1, and then I'm going to go ahead and shift it and set the other one equal to 2. So that's going to be, I got to figure out a way to get 1 or 2 then, based on the amount of click. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tally up every time I click, and I'm just going to see if that number is odd or even. And then that way, if it's odd, I can set it equal to 1. If it's even, it's equal to 2. And then I can put those numbers in my 2D array. I'll put 1 or 2 in there. And so that when I want to draw a circle, I go ahead and check and say, oh, is it equal to 1? Well, then draw a red circle. If it's equal to 2, draw a blue circle. If it's neither of those, then don't draw anything. Okay, so that's kind of my thinking on how I want to make this connect 4. I got my 2D array right here. It's a 6 by 7. I want to identify positions in my 2D array to each of these blocks. And then if I want it to change, I can set that value inside my 2D array to a 1 or a 2. All right, so there's really 2 things I need to do. I need to go ahead and inside of my draw, I want to do draw circles. So I need to create a draw circle program or method here. So inside this draw right here, I got my draw board, and then I also have draw circles. I haven't created this yet. I'm going to have to create this. So let's just go ahead and put it in here. I'm going to uncomment it so I know this will do it each time. So each time it's going to draw the board, and then each time it's going to draw the circles. So I want to come down here. I'm going to create a new one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this public. I don't want it to return anything, so I'm going to go void. And I'm going to call this draw circles inside my program right here. And I'm going to do my curly brackets before I forget, so I know exactly what's going on here. Okay. Now this draw circles. Okay. I want to base that off of where it is, where each of these are. All right. So that's going to depend on where my mouse is at a given time and where it clicks. So in order to get this, I'm going to go ahead and add right here a public void and mouse clicked. All right, so that way it can get the identification, because I need to know where to draw my circles. Well, there's no way to know where to draw my circles until I identify where the mouse has been clicked. So I really should just start here. Now, mouse click is a function. I don't actually have to put it inside of here because it will recognize when the mouse is clicked, and it will just run every time the mouse is clicked. I just need to go ahead and put it right here. So I need to identify the X and Y position. All right, so I already declared X, right? So I can get that. And now I need to set that to the mouse of X. So this will set to the mouse position. Now, this will give me, like, if I go ahead and run this real quick, I need to associate this X position to my array, right? So if I'd say I want to go to this one right down here, I'm going to go all the way to the bottom right. My X position this will give me somewhere of, right, this is 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So we're between 5 and 600 pixels right here. But according to my array, right, if I did my array here, this would just be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need a way to get my mouse, which is going to read off in the 500s, to just get me 5. Well, since it's an integer, it's nice. If I go ahead and just divide by 100, right, it's going to go ahead, say I have it right here, and that's 512, my x position. If I divide by 100, and since it's an integer, it's just going to round it to 5, right? Integer division, it rounds always down. So I don't have to worry if it's like even 5.9. If I divide it by 100, I'll still get 5, right? That's why we would have to add if I wanted to go up. But I don't want to go up because I start at 0. My first array right here in the x position is 0. So let's say if I'm right here at 90, divide by 100, that's 0. So that's going to go ahead and give me my x position in the array indexes value that I want. Okay, and I can do the same thing for y now. So y is equal to mouse of y, divide by 100. So again, if I have this right here, and I got it, let's go looking at rows right here. So this would be 1, 2, 3, and let's go to just the 0, 1, 2, 3, and let's go 0, 1, 2. Okay, so this would be 3 to this position right here. Well, this might be 320 and 200 and something like that, okay, of what it actually is because it's measuring the amount of pixels. But dividing by 100 of each and rounding, because that's what integer division does, I get the exact location to my array. So now I'm saving that x and y position. And now I actually want to go ahead and change my array based on this. So if it's clicked, I want to change that value in my array. So I'm going to come back here and I want to make a statement to see if it is positive or sorry, if it's odd or even. Well, initially I declared x and y. Well, if I don't, I need some way to keep track of how many times I do this. So I'm going to go in and just create one more variable here called click amount plus plus. So that way it's just, I know how many times I've clicked, right? I'll go ahead in my setup, and I just want to go ahead in my setup. I'll set this click amount equal to 0. Okay. Then every time I'm going to go down to mouse clicked right here, I need to go ahead and up click amount. And this is just helping me keep track of it should be one color or another. Okay. So if, and I want to say if this is first, let's say if it's odd. So if click amount modulus 2 is equal to 1, right? That would be an odd number here. If there's a remainder, there's 1 there. Then I want to change my value in my grid. So I'm going to go grid and then x grid end of y, and then is equal to, and I'm just going to set equal to 1. Okay. Else, if that's not the case, so if the mouse isn't clicked, or sorry, if it's not, doesn't have a remainder of 1, well then I want to set this equal to 2. And that way I can identify different colors each time there's a click. And then if it's not clicked, all these values should just stay at 0. So I won't change it. I won't change the color unless I go ahead and change this a click in one of the boxes right here. So let's just make sure I don't have any errors. Oh, okay. So I have an error right here. Click amount. Oh, I try to increment it up there. I just need to declare it. That's a good reason why we go ahead and run it, just to make sure we don't have any errors. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click. We're not going to see any changes. We shouldn't see any changes. Now, there should be a change going in my 2D array, but so far, we won't see that, right? All I'm seeing is I'm just seeing my grid, my draw, and my draw just has my background and draw board right here. My 2D array should be changing. The last thing we need to do is we just need to go ahead and draw circles based upon my 2D array. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I want to go ahead and do my draw circles now. So I'm going to come down here. I got mouse clicked, and now I come down to my draw circles. So I want to, each time this is run, remember this refreshes 60 times per second. each time this is run, I want to go through my whole array and identify where there is ones and where there is twos. If there is a 0 there, it's not going to do anything. Just leave that box blank. But if there's a 1, we're going to say, hey, let's draw a red circle. If it is a 2, let's draw a blue circle. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and run 2 loops. Now, I need to know the index of where I am. Therefore, we cannot run a for each loop. I need to know the index, so I'm going to have to run a regular loop. So I'm going to go first with for, and the first thing I'm going to identify is the row. So I'm going to call this row equals 0. And as long as the row is less than grid dot length. Remember that first one, if we just do dot length of a 2D array, so grid is a 2D array, it gives us the amount of rows. And then I want to do this increment row up, and I'm going to go through each row inside of here. Now that's giving me an array, right? So I have 6 different rows. This is going to go through each row. But then I need to go through, I'm going to do a bracket here and end my bracket here. Especially when we're inside these, always end and start your brackets at the same time so you don't get lost here. So I did that for loop. I'm going to do one more for loop because now when I pull a row, I want to go through each column in the row. So I'm going to go for, and now I'm going to go integer, and I'm going to go column so I can easily identify the difference between these two. And then I'm going to go for as long as the column is less than, and now I want to go through grid of row. So I'm going to go through grid / row right here. That's going through each row, and then the length of that. And then I increment up as I go through. So this is identifying each row, and then this is going to go and take that row. So it's saying specifically, take the row that you're on. So this starts at 0. It'll be the first one. I increment row up, then it will be the second one, right? Index of 1. I increment up, and it will keep incrementing up until it goes through all those. And when it does, we'll then go through the amount that are in the row. And that will do that by going through this one, grid row dot length of right there. Remember, when we do arrays and do dot length, there is no parentheses at the end. Okay, so now I have this for loop. I want to go ahead and make curly brackets here. I'm going to start them and end them so I don't get lost here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to draw an ellipse if I now can isolate each different box in my array, each different position in my array. And I want to go ahead and check to see if it's a 1 or a 2. So I'm going to go ahead and make an if statement, and I want it to be different if it's a 1 or 2 because I'm going to draw 2 different things depending on which one it is. So I'm going to say if grid, and now the whole reason why I named these row and columns is so I won't forget, row and column is equal to 1. Okay, I'm going to start my bracket here and finish my bracket. So I have another set of curly brackets. If that's the case, then I want to set this first one equal to red. So I'm going to go fill. And remember, we do red, green, blue. So my first one's red. So I want that 255, 0, 0. And then I want to go ahead and make my circle. Okay, so I'm going to go ellipse. A circle is just an ellipse with equal sides, height and width there. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. Okay, we got to think of what's going on here. I know where this is at, right? I know the position, and that can tell me where I should draw this. But let's say if I'm in my first box, right? That's 0. Well, I need to actually start in the middle of the box. So I need to start at 50-50. That would be the first one. I don't want to start in the top left corner. I want to start there, so 50-50. But what if I'm in the second box, right? I actually want to start at 150, right? So what I need to do here is I need to go ahead, and remember, it's telling me what it needs right here. So this would be X and Y position. So X and Y position, and then the dimension of it. Well, each box is 100 by 100, right? So I know this is going to be 50 by 50. Okay, but what is my X and Y position? My X is going to be related to my row, right? And my Y should be my column. I'm going to go back in here and put row. I'm going to put column. But these are just whole integers. right? My first row would be 0. My second row would be 1. But I need it to be at 50 and 150, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply each of these by 100 because I'm dealing with 100 pixels, right? I had to divide it by 100, but I need to get back up to 100. And then I want it in the middle. So say if I click on, if I'm in that first row, the first row is 0. I times that by 100, that's still 0. And that's okay, that's what I want. But I want to start in the middle, so now I add 50 right here. Now if I want the second row, well, let's take a look, right? The second row is going to give me 1. Well, 1 times 100 is 100, and then plus 50, 150. That puts me right where I want. If I'm in that last row, it's going to do the same thing. I need my semicolon right here. And I need to do that exact same idea for my column. So column times 100 plus 50. Okay? And that way, it's going to shift me back from just the index values to the pixel value of where I need that located. Now, that should be my red one right here. Okay? So I might make my other one, let's say, blue. So this is an else statement. So if it doesn't equal 1, it can equal 2 other things, right? It can still equal 0. That means nothing has been clicked in that square. Or 2. So I don't want just an else because I don't want it to fill up all the zeros. I'm going to put in an else if. So still conditional here. So else if, and I'm going to put grid of row and column right here. And I'm going to say if that's equal to 2, then I'm going to start my bracket and end my curly bracket right here. And I'm going to do the same thing, but instead of red, right, red, green, blue, I'm going to do fill 0, 0, 55. And then I'm going to draw another circle in here. And this is the same actual line as this one, right? So row, the only thing that I changed was the fill right here to change my color. So times 100 plus 50. And then column times 100 plus 50. And 50 and 50 here. There we go. So my X position, Y position, and then the size of it right here. So let's go ahead and make sure this works. I think I need to go back to my draw and uncomment my draw circles here. And let's go ahead and see what happens. So I hit play. Now I should see my grid. Good. Nothing's happening yet. That's perfect, right? In order for anything to happen, and this is what the mouse click function does, right? Notice how when I write this method right here, draw board, nothing happens to this. This isn't a recognized method. I made the method and it will work, right? We got our grid set up, but it doesn't change. It's just regular writing right here. When I go down to mouse click, see how this is darker right here? This is a method inside of here. So this will always run. If I put this inside here, mouse clicked, I don't have to put it in my draw. It will just run on its own. So as soon as I do a mouse click, then it should change my grid, and my draw circles is based upon the changing of the grid, right? So I'm going to go ahead and let's see if this works here. I'm going to go ahead and click, and I get a red circle here. Okay, that's good. I'm going to go ahead next to this, and I get a blue circle, right? And every time I click right here, I'm playing Connect 4 at this point, right? Red might go here at this point. Blue, trying to figure out the strategy here. Might go here. Red goes here, and so you get the idea here. Red might keep going. Blue goes here. Red's, oh no, what am I going to do? And then blue would win, right? You got Connect 4 right there. So that's our most basic Connect 4 right here. So kind of work your way through here. Make sure this makes sense to you. So I kind of did this quick. I want to make sure that you can get this program done. There is some challenges on there. So another thing you can add is make this a little bit longer right here. Put a title to it. Also, you could put like a reset button. So think of what that reset button would do to your 2D array right here, right? It would just reset all those values there. You just do a loop going through and just reset all those things to 0. You could also do, if you feel a little advanced here, you could click on one right here. Instead of it just showing up, you could make it fall, right? So remember, we've moved balls before, so you would just start them all up here. That starting position would be based upon which row, or sorry, which column they would be in, and then you can make it fall until they get to that position that it's equal to in their array. That would be a little more tricky, take some time, but definitely would be pretty cool if you could do that. Also, maybe you could keep track of how many, so when someone wins, or how many they have in a row. But this is our basic idea. So hopefully you guys can get through this. Let me know if you have any questions.